Well, the Calgary Flames made it pretty interesting for a brief moment in today's game against, who do they play again? Oh, right, the Washington Capitals in DC at Capital One Arena. But in the end, it was the Capitals who showed why, even though they're not a playoff team right now, they're still quite a bit better than the Calgary Flames. They take this one in a 7-3 decision. Mike Gould and Ryan Pike with you here on the Afterburner, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it is truly never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Just use the code NATION. It's a good spot. We'll have lots from Bet365 in a moment. But before we get there, just remember, folks, proceeds from our Super Chat go to the Youth Centers of Calgary. Get on the show with the Super Chat. We want to see at least 12 Super Chats in this show, maybe more. Maybe more than half of them from non-RB people, as much as we like to see RB's Super Chats. But we want to see a wide variety here today. So get the Super Chats in. They benefit the Youth Centers of Calgary. It's a place where kids can be accepted as they are, where they can get a break from so much stress that they face, and where they can flourish through connections and fun. Pike, the Calgary Flames today against Washington started in what I would call a forlorn manner. They came back, and made it quite entertaining at the tail end of the second period, much to the chagrin of folks who were on Team Tank. But in the end, they lost in a rather ethical fashion, as some would say.
Well, we said before we went on the air, they weren't very good in the first period. They were very good in the second period. The first 10 minutes of the third, they were fine. And then they were kind of bad in the last 10 minutes. So they played 20 really good minutes, scored some nice goals. And then the remainder of the game, they kind of looked like a team that was outmatched, which, let's be honest, like they're playing a team that was, I think they entered the game 12 points ahead of them. And the Capitals are, at least right now, a team that thinks they can try to scrape into the playoffs. These were points the Capitals desperately needed. And they played in the third period like a team that desperately needed the points. And so I think I would argue this is a decent Tank loss in the sense that there was some good stuff. You kind of feel bad for Devin Cooley because the Flames in zone defense, especially in the first period, was bad. It was quite bad. Granted, playing with 6 defensemen, many of which have only rarely played with each other. But I don't know. They hung in there. The game looked like it was going to be a laugher after 20. It turned into a good hockey game. And, for considering where we are in the grand scheme of things with 19 to go, if these last 19 games are competitive, I think people are going to be okay with it.
Well, the Flames got some goals from guys who you'd like to see score. They got points from guys who you'd like to see score to sort of ump their own value, make sure that they have a little bit of jam as we head to the end of the season, into next season. They got some good individual performances tonight in a game that was pretty sloppy. I think a lot of folks on either side of this game would be in the video room tomorrow looking at some stuff that they might have done wrong or done in a less than ideal manner. This was a game, though, Pike, you mentioned the Capitals much higher in the standings than the Flames, but still a game between two sellers. The Flames traded Nazem Kadri and Mackenzie Weegar, and they made a number of subtractions to their roster in the week leading up to the deadline. So did Washington. They traded John Carlson and Nick Dowd, a couple of key veterans for them. And this was a game in which we saw the Capitals also have some youngsters contribute. And we should probably just lead into the game because there's a lot of goals to get through in this one.
We got 10 goals to talk about?
10 goals. That's uncommon for an Afterburner.
In this economy, 10 goals?
Very uncommon for a 25-26 season Afterburner. The Flames haven't been very good at scoring, but they've at least been somewhat good at limiting goals against for a lot of this season. And the funny thing that we saw at the start of today's game, the second time in the last couple of weeks, the Flames have allowed a player from an Eastern Conference team to score in a second consecutive game against the Flames, but only for the third time this season. We saw it with Lars Eller in the game against Ottawa a couple of weeks ago, a former Capital who hadn't scored since the previous game against Calgary all the way back in October. And what we saw today was Hendrix Lapierre, a young former first-round pick for this Capitals team, who now only has 3 goals this season, but 2 of them in the 2 games against the Calgary Flames. He got this game started in the first period pretty quickly in, just 2:46, it's 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think the Capitals had a game plan, it appeared, to basically put bodies in chaos in front of Devin Cooley. And if you look at a lot of these goals throughout this game, it's not scored by the guy in front, but the guy in front is a big piece of basically just making Cooley feel a little bit constrained, a little bit constricted. He can't quite be as aggressive playing the angles, and he also can't really anticipate a lot of stuff that's going to be happening in front of him in terms of passing. And this was just a very nice play, and he made the initial save. But I mean, unless you find a way to swallow, I don't know how you avoid giving up a rebound on a low shot like this. It's a perfect shot for what they were trying to do there.
Yeah, it's a tough one for sure. The Flames. I mean, I think there was a bit of a breakdown in coverage as well. Lapierre's pretty wide open. Can Trader makes a good point. Lapierre, a familiar name to a lot of Flames fans because he was right there in that range where the Flames drafted Connor Zary back in 2020. His career has not gone the way that I think he would have hoped in Washington, but I'd like to see him succeed, especially with the Capitals sort of shifting to a bit of a youth mode going forward here. Now, the guy who scored their second goal is very much not a young player. He's been around for quite some time in Tom Wilson. And this is just an absolutely fantastic shot right from basically the goal line by Tom Wilson. Again, some really nice passing by the Capitals in the offensive.
Draisaitl plays on the other side, but basically, if you switch the handedness, it's
Yeah.
a sharp. I think we're underselling the quality of puck movement ahead of this by Washington. Like, you might as well put Sweet Georgia Brown in the background, pretend this is a Harlem Globetrotters game, because they were just whooshing around the puck with ease, and they didn't quite finish on that net front play, but I think the Flames you could sort of see them give a collective sigh of relief when the puck didn't go in on the initial play, and that gave Tom Wilson that little bit of extra time to jump on it.
Connor McMichael, another young player for this Capitals team, gets them a 3-0 lead right at the tail end of period number 1 with his 9th goal of the season.
Everyone's sort of on one side of the ice.
Yeah.
I hope the puck doesn't go over here. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what Cooley's supposed to do there outside of, you're at maybe he can just pull a rabbit out of his hat territory. There's not much you can do in the first two. This one, you're like, he has a clean lane and he's a good shooter, so there's not much you can do there.
It's funny because I thought Lomberg actually had a pretty good first period, aside from just a couple of miscues, and that was definitely a bit of a miscue for number 70, and it ended up in the back of the Calgary Flames net. And then the second period happened, and the first bit of the second period, not a whole lot going on. And then the Flames score 3 goals in under 3 minutes at the end of period number 2. And I mean, I think a lot of people in this game watching this game were hoping to see Matvei Gridin score because he hadn't been with the Flames for their last game. He'd been down in Coachella Valley taking on the Firebirds as a member of the Calgary Wranglers. He had a really nice assist in that game, setting up Dryden Hunt for a beautiful goal. And then he comes back up and he kind of doesn't look like he's missed a step, Pike. Gridin, I thought, was one of their better players again tonight. And again, sort of similar to the Tom Wilson goal in a small way. He's right at the side of the net. And this is
like garbage time. Like, oh, he got a second assist on an empty netter. Like, in a game where the Flames were trying to claw back in, he made a very nice pass to set up a goal. And you know what? We spoke with him after Saturday's game, and he seems just absolutely jacked about coming back to Canada and having a chance to play and contribute, and not just like he could have. I think he pointed out, like, yeah, he could have just been like a 13th forward and collecting his money in Anaheim, just been like, all right, going to the beach, don't have to play tonight, don't have to, there's worse things in life than being a $5 million spare part on a good hockey team. But some guys are just really, really wired differently and want to contribute. And, I think this was another example, granted, a small sample size, of Ryan Strome showing some positive value.
Well, it's funny. There was a rumor that came out today. I think it was on The Athletic, and it was about how the Pittsburgh Penguins were apparently another team that was after Ryan Strome. Maybe they wanted money to be held back or something, and that's why Calgary got him. It's funny. He feels like exactly the kind of player that Pittsburgh, under either Kyle Dubas or Jim Rutherford, would be after. It feels like they make that trade 6 times a year of just adding in these depth players and swapping them in and out. And I really like that the Flames are moving towards doing this a little bit more. I think it's a really smart asset play for them. And they've done it 3 or 4 times this year already, which is super
Zach
cool.
Whitecloud,
Yeah.
a guy who has some term, he's definitely underpaid relative to his contract. And
Hugely valuable.
That's why so many teams were kicking tires and be like, can we have Zach Whitecloud? But unless someone knocks your socks off for Zach Whitecloud, you might as well keep him. They did with Oli Mata, which again, Mata got another point in this game too. I thought he did nice, and I'll point out Oli Mata in the aggregate, 20 minutes of ice time and +1 in a game where the Flames allowed 7 goals. That's not bad. Ryan Strome and Victor Olofsson, like they have Victor Olofsson's like the odd man out here because he's a UFA. It was just basically okay, we have too many guys. Can you take a guy? But he's good. But the other 3 are examples of guys with some term, guys with some value, and guys who are underutilized arguably where they were before. And now they get a chance to go someplace where potentially the Flames can can pump up their value and either use them to develop their kids or they can flip them or both.
Well, it's just cheap leadership. Can Trainer makes a good point in the chat here. You want to have veteran guys around during these lean years. And the best kind of guys like this are the guys who are kind of fighting for their careers a little bit. You bring these guys in and they're looking to prove what they can still be, trying to resuscitate themselves a little bit. And
it's a good word.
Thank you. And the player who I would always think about is Shane Gostisbehere, who was at the end of his rope in Philadelphia. And here he is 6 or 7 years later and 4 or 5 teams later. And he is, I think, the Carolina Hurricanes' leading defensive scorer. And it really wouldn't have happened had he not had a couple of tenures with teams like Arizona and Detroit and sort of found his way through the wilderness and reestablished himself as sort of the elder statesman on some younger teams that were coming back up after, many years of being maybe on the younger side on teams. It kind of lets these guys have a new perspective. And I think with Strome and Mata, I think they're going to be invaluable pieces of this Flames team, even in games where they don't score, because, as much as we're laying praise on them, they're not going to score every game, but it's nice pieces who you can throw out there and trust. And you can kind of treat it like a GIC, you have these guys, you invest very little in them in a year. And then next year, you have a guaranteed rate of return in all likelihood with the way that the market works for right shot centers and for veteran left shot defensemen with 2 Stanley Cups. So it's very nice. I think it's a very smart piece of management for the Calgary Flames. They do get another 2 goals in this second period. And it's funny. They both come on a interference penalty by Zane Parekh. I like Parekh in this game. He took a couple of interference penalties, but I kind of liked how engaged he was physically. I mean, he maybe needs to work on his decision-making a little bit as it pertains to not wiping guys out along the boards who have already chipped the puck by him. But I like seeing him play with a little bit more assertiveness, and I liked his confidence with the puck at the blue line. I thought he looked really sharp. And it's funny because he takes that penalty and the Flames score 2 shorthanded goals on the same PK. And it all starts with Blake Coleman.
Coleman. What did you think of the penalty before too? Because I thought it was he just went a little bit too we were oh man, Zane Parekh doesn't engage physically. He's just fast. Well, this is when he engaged pretty well physically. I thought I didn't like the penalty. I thought it was a good board play and just the puck got a little bit far away from him. I don't know. It seemed like kind of a soft call.
I thought the first penalty was more of a penalty on Parekh. The guy was way behind the play. The forward had already way chipped the puck by him, and Parekh took him out. This one was a lot more bang bang, and almost right away on the PK.
Games before the deadline, they sort of separated Coleman and Backlund. I think possibly because I think they wanted. Coleman has a little bit more offense in this game than Backlund does, and they're both really responsible. And with the team, let's be blunt, thinner than they were a little while ago, having them on separate lines at 5-on-5 kind of makes some sense in order to sort of provide some two-way responsibility on more than one forward line. But when you put them together, some good stuff happens, and this is a good example of that. It's just a simple hockey play and 2 guys that know what the other one's going to do. So Coleman, he's heading up ice as soon as he sees Backlund has the puck because he knows exactly what's going to be trying to do there. And Backlund knows that Coleman's on his horse and is like, all right, let's do this. And yeah, it turned into a pretty nice goal.
It was really nice. The Flames offensive group has been much more by committee this year than I expected they would be. They now have 2 guys with 15 goals, 2 guys with 14 goals, 2 guys with 13 goals. It's a super weird. If you had told me at the start of the year, at the start of this season back in October, that we would be here in March, the Flames would not have a 20-goal scorer, would likely not have a guy finish the year with 20 goals. I mean, we'll see how it all shakes out. They might have somebody get there. But if you told me that in order, their top 6 goal scorers would be Joel Farabee, Blake Coleman, Matt Coronado. Who else has 14? It's Matt Coronado and Morgan Frost and Yegor Sharangovich and somebody else, Backlund, who have 13. If you told me those were their 6 leading goal scorers, I would be really surprised in that order with that number of goals. But that's just how it's gone for the Flames this year.
I mean, I don't. They're the NHL's lowest scoring team. They have, I think, as of, has this been updated? It has been. They have 10 players with 10 or more goals, including 2 guys in Anderson and Kadri. They're not on the team anymore. And one guy in Huberdeau who's out for the year. So I mean, it was probably always going to have to be by committee, but it's also the kind of the thing now where, okay, you take away Kadri, and Kadri is not a perfect hockey player, but he was very good at the things he was good at. And one of the things he was good at was clutch goals. And so you take a guy who is probably always going to flirt with somewhere between 25 and 30 goals blindfolded. You take him out of your lineup, and sometimes it can be tough. I was pretty happy to see these guys get 3 because at the end of the first period, I'm like, oh no, they might not score at all. So I'm very glad that they got more than 0.
Well, and I know Bobby tweeted it out at some point during the game, our buddy Robert Munich, and I'm not sure if Yasmin has it. I think I sent it to her, but entering tonight's game, the Flames had the fewest road goals all season long by 15. This is wild. Like, they entered tonight's game with 64 goals on the road, and the Kings and Devils were tied for the second fewest with 79. Then you have Winnipeg at 80 and Seattle at 81. And I don't think it's a matter of they've played way, way fewer games. Like, it's just this team, for whatever reason, they don't score much at all, but especially on the road, it is real tough for them to score.
I think they have the NHL's worst road power play. I'll look that
Probably.
up. But I did a piece earlier on looking at sort of their challenges, let's call them, at away from the Saddledome, and there's been some challenges. They are second last. They're 15.4% on the road, 14 power play goals and 91 opportunities. It's been not good. That's
been one of those years.
They've fully earned their bad power play ranking.
A minute 16 after the Blake Coleman goal, the Flames get their second goal on the same PK. Both their PK forward units combined to score a goal in this game. Distant player on the PK. In any event, this is a nice little goal. It's his 13th of the season. And this really prompted a lot of Flames fans to freak out, being tied at 3-3 late in the second period, saying, uh-oh, we're not going to be able to tank in this game.
Well, I mean, we tied. So, folks, this is a nerd podcast, so I'll get nerdy.
Let's go.
There's a thing called score effects, and score effects are basically, okay, you're Washington, you're at home, you run the Flame show in the first period, and so you come out, you're sitting in the locker room in the first intermission, and all you can think about is, we're the best friggin' team in the history of hockey. Holy shit, we're amazing. And then you go out, and you're not going out there going, okay, time to let them back in. You're going in thinking, okay, we don't need to attack. We just need to defend intelligently. We don't need to do anything stupid. We just need to kill the clock. And the problem is, just naturally, if you don't feel like you need to score, there's going to be some passivity into your game. And as a result, I think the Capitals were very passive in the second period, and their power play was not very aggressive because, again, when the power play started, they were still up 3-1. And it was a very nice opportunity for the Flames to take advantage of a team that's probably sitting back a little bit and going, all right, who do we play next time? We should probably let's just manage our lines. You don't need to overexert ourselves. These guys are 30th, 28th, 29th, down there somewhere.
30th now. 30th now.
But the Flames, give them credit. I mean, the Capitals gave the Flames an opportunity to storm back into this game, storm the Capitol, if you will. And the Flames kick that door down and
wow.
tied the game.
I would have figured if one of us would have made that line, it'd be me. But I'm glad you did. That's pretty good. Wow. Well, let's regroup. Back to the topic at hand. That is so.
Well, that's the show.
What was I saying before? Oh, so Sharangovich was in his first season here, and he had 7 shorthanded points in his first season as a member of the Calgary Flames, and I think a very flawed player in a lot of respects as far as just compete on a consistent basis. But I do think it is something that he stands to benefit from. Now, the other thing is I just don't know who else is going to PK for this team. I almost wonder about maybe putting Matty Coronado on a unit at some point.
He killed penalties in Harvard. He killed penalties in the AHL. I think that could be kind of a fun use of his talents. I mean, especially like he's going to be one of those guys that you need to sort of lean on a bit.
Well, they need more. They need a lot more from Matt Coronado, especially right now. We'll see. We'll see exactly what the future holds for number 27 for the Calgary Flames. But in any event, that brings us to the end of the Calgary Flames offense in this game. They got 3 goals, 2 on the PK, Gridin, Coleman, Sharangovich, and they make it through the first half of the third period without surrendering another goal. But from there, it all kind of just falls apart. It's Connor McMichael with a power play goal. The Flames, for all that we were told earlier in the day about them trying to do a 5-man power play, they never got a single power play in this game. But Connor,
there's not much you can do on it.
I didn't even notice on the first replay that Coleman basically gives that one right to McMichael in the slot. Tough little break there. But in any event, after that, it was Justin Sordiff. Justin Sordiff, his 13th of the season, had a goal and an assist in this game, and this 737. But in any event, you kind of get it. But it was
the 737 is not a jumbo jet; it's one of the smaller ones. It's a regional jet.
That's what he was calling them.
747 is a jumbo jet.
We'll get Zeri on defense or something. I don't know.
You can do it.
That made it a 5-3 game. Really not much to talk about here. Ethan Frank ends up scoring an empty netter. That's his 12th of the season. Ethan Frank, a player who I really like. And then Ryan Leonard with a breakaway goal to wrap things up at the very end of regulation time. 7-3, your final score for the Calgary Flames in their first game of a 5-game road trip. They play again tomorrow in New York. It's going to be a bit of a grind. It already has been a bit of a grind, but for this team, which has now fallen into 30th place in the NHL, is on the verge of possibly falling back into 31st tonight, depending on the results of Chicago versus Utah, in which Andrei Burakovsky just tied it up at 2 in the second period. It is not going to get any easier from here, Pike.
No. And for those of you who are curious about tonight's Strome-off, Dylan versus Ryan Strome. Dylan Strome, let me just pull up the stat line. At 5-on-5, Dylan Strome and Ryan Strome are on the ice for 5 minutes and 58 seconds. Ryan Strome's expected goals were 55.4% against his brother, although his brother had the Corsi advantage. So take for that what you will. And Dylan Strome had a 3-0 edge at the faceoff dot.
Wow.
And I believe both Stromes had points. So I guess if you're trying to decide a winner on the Strome-off, I think you'd probably say, well, I mean, Dylan's team won, but Ryan Strome, 3 for 10 in the faceoff dot in 14:06. He had an assist. He was -2. His little brother Dylan Strome, as I stall to find his stat line, also had an assist. He was also -2. And he won 10 of 11 faceoffs, including 3 against his big brother in 17:04. So honestly, they were both perfectly adequate given the relative strength levels of their team, and Dylan won more faceoffs. So way to go, Strome. Wow. I imagine if you're the Strome family, you're probably kind of excited that your siblings, kids, relatives, whoever the hell you are to them, got to play each other and got to play against each other head to head for that much. So I don't know. It's game 63, and there's not going to be a game 83. So we're looking for things that make us happy during these games, and Strome versus Strome just amuses me greatly. Sure. And I hope they had fun.
I hope so too. We'll get to some early super chats, proceeds from which benefit the youth centers of Calgary. We do have some. It's really a great opportunity for folks to get more involved in the show, support a place that allows kids to have more fulfillment in these trying times. Arby with the first super chat, $6.99. Pike, looks like Uyghur's not the future captain anymore. He's -1 tonight for Utah. I couldn't believe it either. Another goal for Gridin, future star. Pike, do you want to focus more on the first or second half of that statement?
Hey, I'm the one who went on TV on Wednesday morning, maybe 5 hours for the trade, and went, I don't know. I don't think they trade Uyghur coming off a weak season. He was dash 35 when they traded him, and that screamed depressed asset. You don't want to sell low. And then, they got a bunch of good stuff for him. So, I mean, if that's selling low, I'm kind of okay with it. So, I guess he can't be the captain for the Flames, so they're going to have to find somebody else. Oh, well. Gridin's very good. Here's my observation. I think myself and probably a lot of people in the Flames organization thought that Gridin would need more seasoning, but I'll give him credit. He adapted extremely well to the USHL coming in from Russia. He adapted extremely well to the Quebec League coming in from the USHL, which is a much different league. He adapted very quickly to the AHL. Actually, he adapted so quickly, they put him in the NHL to start. He was perfectly fine in his first NHL cup of coffee, and it really only had to go down because Huberdeau needed a spot in the lineup. And then he's just played well enough that they keep feeling the need to bring him up to the point where, they burned one of their 5 regular recalls on him. He's not going back down. He's up for the rest of the year, and he deserves it. He's been easily, probably the most consistently dynamic Wranglers player when he's been down there. And you can make a case, especially in games like this, as the season's gone on, there's been more and more dynamism in his NHL game too. So, and this is, let's be honest, probably the roughest, worst version of Gridin we're going to see, because I think his sample size suggests at every level he's been at, he's gotten consistently better. And so I think we're going to see a really, really polished, motivated, really talented player next year and going forward.
Gridin's great. Huge fan. We got another one from Sheldon Love, 22.98. 2 shorthanded goals kept us in it. Could have lost 7-1. You're not wrong, Sheldon. You are not wrong. $2 there for the youth centers of Calgary. And from Arby, this is another one from Arby, $2.79. Mike, can you tell Scott how good Gridin is? I think Scott is this Oilers troll who's always in our chat. So, Pike pretty much took the words out of my mouth. But, I think Gridin's pretty good. I think he is. I'm trying to think of a player who I would even compare him to at this stage of his career. But
Sergei Krivokrasov.
German
Titov, another Russian.
German Titov. He's
Valerie Bure.
Let me put it this way: he is the Flames' most exciting forward prospect to come up like this without, sort of to come up while bouncing back and forth between the AHL and the NHL, because they've had a number of guys who have just sort of made the team out of camp and just stayed there. Guys like Bennett and guys like Monahan and guys like Johnny. I would say he's the best sort of guy to develop in this way since, going back a long time.
Oh, I mean, I think Coronado was older, but Coronado also had the benefit of he played on the small ice with this kind of style of hockey for years. Mm-hmm. And he didn't, he was sort of wobbled back and forth between the NHL and the AHL. Again, mostly for they didn't have enough room for him, but he was still good. But they used the time that he went down, Coronado, to sort of just fill holes in his game. Like I mentioned, they had him playing on the penalty kill. They had him sort of playing a little bit more of a two-way role in the AHL for a little while, just to sort of round out his game, because their thought process after, very quickly was, if he's going up, we don't want him coming back down. So, Gridin is just, it's hard to really, what holes what flaws do you point at? Like, he's just turned 20. He's young. He's good. Seems to be very eager to learn, and he's Russian. And, the Flames don't have a huge history of amazing Russians, with the exception of the great Sergei Makarov. But,
Val Bure.
Maybe they have another one. Val Bure, great Flames. You're going to say Val Bure is a great Flame? He's not even the best Bure in his family. He's not even the best Bure in his household.
Yeah. No, I think I think with Gridin, the thing that just impresses me is the pace at which he has been improving. It is kind of alarming. I mean, there are people who I really trust and who I really respect their opinions, who had Matvei Gridin in his draft year as a borderline third, fourth round pick. People who came into that year. I will show you after we're done the show. I'm not going to shout out anybody on the show, but there were people who were like, he was more of a consensus mid-second round type guy when the Flames took him. There were some guys who had him maybe late in the first where they got him, but a lot of guys had him in the mid-second, late second. And there is one publication, again, who I will not shout out on the mic, who had him as a borderline third, fourth round caliber prospect. And I mean, he was a top scorer in the USHL. But again, it's one thing to score at that level. It's another thing to be a dominant player at that level. And what we have seen from him over the last 2 seasons is just sort of leveling up in these different leagues without really having a whole lot of an adjustment period. I mean, it took him about a month to really acclimate to the QMJHL. And it took him about a week to really acclimate to the AHL. And here he is in the NHL, and he obviously had his first little cup of coffee in October. He played 5 games. He scored a fluke goal. And after he came up the second time, it's been basically a light switch. He's been excellent, and I see very few holes in his game. It's funny. I was just out of curiosity earlier today. I was going back and reading some Matvei Gridin scouting reports from when he was younger, and a lot of people had criticisms with his skating. That was a big thing that people would hone on, was that he wasn't a good enough skater to separate from guys. And I think he's a really strong skater. Like I think that with Gridin, he has really good separation ability. And I think he is able to skate with the puck almost as well as he skates without the puck. Mr. Watts has a question. Mike, wasn't Gridin committed to the NCAA? Why did he not go? He was going to go to Michigan. That's right. I think there was some concern about his academic eligibility.
I think something similar happened with Pospisil. I think because especially if you're coming over from Russia, or in Pospisil's case, I believe he did some of his schooling in Slovakia, and so like I don't know, like if you ask me how courses translate from other countries' education systems, I don't know, and so I'm not gonna rag on anyone for having weird transfer credits because
Definitely not.
I there's people who are transferring credits within the same country in the same linguistic system, and it's weird enough. So,
right.
But yeah, I think there was initially he was committed to Michigan. It was he'll probably go. Then will he go? And then there's also to a certain extent, it was also just I think based on how he developed too in the USHL, like he committed early in the year, and then he just was borderline dominant, and then would playing a shorter season in a Michigan environment be necessarily the best thing for him? Or do you want him going to, Quebec and playing on a team and having the opportunity to be the guy? And I don't know, reasonable people can disagree about the right avenue to develop guys, but I think he went to Shawinigan and had a very, very good year. And I will dispute your notion that, hey, it was a fluke goal. I'll say this. The best thing about Matvei Gridin is even when there's nothing, like that was a game the Flames were not playing well in. They were not good. And
ton of bounces.
A 19-year-old rookie sparked a comeback because he tried to make a play. And Matvei Gridin, regardless of the score, he's a guy that is never afraid to try to make a play, to try to make something happen. And you kind of need that kind of confidence and, dare I say, youthful recklessness. Just be like, you know what? There's a couple guys between me and the net and me and the guy I'm trying to pass it to. I think I can do it. And he didn't make a successful pass to Coronado, but he scored. So, and the Oilers lost. So I mean that everybody got what they wanted out of that game.
Youthful recklessness is my middle name. I appreciate that. But that's a good perspective, and he's done very well. We're honestly, here in Calgary, there is a shortage of reasons for, I wouldn't say there's a shortage of reasons for excitement. There's certainly more reasons for excitement about the future than there were in previous years. I think Matvei Gridin's right at the top of the list. I think Zane Parekh had a really good game tonight. I think he is at one of the top of the list too. I thought he was very, very comfortable with the puck.
I'll also say I think he's figuring, you can sort of see him taking notes from previous games. There's a couple of games ago, I forget which one it was, But he kind of got beat to pucks in the corner, not because, and when he got beat to pucks, he wasn't really engaging physically. It was sort of just like pucks are zipping around and he's half a second behind, and he has an opportunity to sort of just throw a shoulder to a guy, make a clean check just to be, just to wear a guy down. And he just slows, like, he walks up, is like, oh, sorry. And then just sort of goes, he did that a bunch of times. He's too polite. This game, he was physically engaging almost as often as he could. And yeah, he took that iffy interference penalty in the neutral zone. But, if you have him start playing that style and getting accustomed to that style, and then he goes to the summer being like, man, I need to gain like a bunch of weight and, just have a little bit more snarl in my game. If you start getting him along that route now, then he can have a good summer and then come back and just be a little bit of a dick to people on the ice. He'll be more accustomed and more physically able to throw that extra hit as a guy's making a pass to start wearing guys down. Because, if guys are afraid to go in the corner with him because he's either going to razzle dazzle them with the puck or just throw a shoulder into them, it gives you more reasons to stay out of the corner with him.
Man, we've already been live for 41 minutes. That is crazy. That time.
And we've made January 6th references. I've used the term razzle dazzle. We're having a good show.
Pike's in one tonight. Pike, I'm trying to think of a good segue here to the Derek Newman group, but I can't. So let's just go into it. Derek Newman, he is a good guy. I don't know if he's got connections to Washington, D.C. I don't know if he could get you a house down there, but he probably could. He could probably make some calls. In any event, he's a fantastic fella. And if you need a house, if you are looking, you got to call Derek at least. Just hear him out. Hear what he's got to say. DERRICK NewmanGroup.com. Call him at 403-619-6661. He knows the struggle. He has been watching these Calgary Flames for many years. Some of those years have been good. Many more of those years have been not so good. And Derek just knows what it means to be a fan of the Flames and also to be looking in this house market, which is ever changing. 1 week it feels like everything's going way up, and one thing ever feels way down. So call Derek, and he'll get you all squared away straight. Hey, Pike, one guy who found a new home after the deadline was our old buddy Andrew Mangiapane, and guess what? Tonight against the Utah Mammoth, Yasmin, I think we've got it. Andrew Mangiapane, his first goal as a member of the Chicago.
But, I mean, I don't know. It's good to see. He's a guy who works really hard. I mean, eventually Father Time comes for us all. He had that one tremendous year in Calgary, and then he's been sort of chasing that glory ever since. And I think he's a guy that still has some tread on the tires. And I believe he has another year, 2 years, 1 year,
1 year.
1 year left on his contract. So he'll get to hang out in Chicago. He'll get to try to rehabilitate his value a bit. And I can think, if he's going to be on like the first, second power play and playing near or alongside Connor Bedard, I can think of worse places to play if you want to juice your value a little bit.
I will wish him well, the double agent for the Edmonton Oilers who proceeds to make them trade a first-round pick to get rid of his contract. Wish him well in Chicago. And again, live against the Mammoth right now, a game that we hope that Chicago wins for the Flames draft positioning going forward. The Hawks and Mammoth are tied at 2 after 2 goals in that one from Barrett Hayton and Dylan Guenther for Utah, and Mangiapane and Burakovsky for Chicago. There was another game on today that has already gone final, and that was a wild one. The New York Rangers tripling up the Philadelphia Flyers 6-2. The Rangers, Alexis Lafreniere, ever since the Artemi Panarin trade, has actually seemed to really find his game. Good for him, and the Rangers picking up a big 2 points tonight. So what we see out of all this today is that the Flames now in 30th place in the NHL. They are tied with Chicago. They both have 57 points in 63 games. Vancouver, of course, below all of them with 46 points in 63 games. The Canucks also playing tonight, and they just fell behind 1-0 to the Ottawa Senators on Ridley Gregg's 10th goal of the season. So, obviously the Canucks probably out of reach. But depending on how that Chicago game ends, we could see the Flames back in 31st place. So just a look on the out of town. The other game today was LA beating the Blue Jackets 5-4 in overtime. Pike, there's been a a question that has been starred by Yasmin here, and I think Mr. Watts really wants us to answer it. Ask Pike how the green line will be implemented into the new arena with a collection of emoji. Pike,
because it looks like a train. That's cute.
Well done. So.
Well done, Mr. Watts. All your emojis kind of look like a green train. That's fun.
So
well,
Pike,
that's some good. That's some excellent artwork. I'm gonna put that.
You got to know all about this though. Like, tell us.
There's going to be a stop 2 blocks north of the north entrance to Scotia Place, just up on Stampede Trail, heading up towards the CPR right of way. They're finalizing the location and design stuff. A lot of the challenges is the province is sort of in the middle of sort of hashing out their rail strategy. Their idea is they want to implement some regional rail projects, like a train to Edmonton, train to Banff, train to the airport. And so they want to have sort of they call it a Grand Central hub, like a Grand Central station, sort of connecting,
sort of like Union.
Yeah. Sort of there'd be something sort of like, cantilevered over the CPR KC right of way, but until they have that settled out and like, okay, this is what we're doing and this is where we want to build and here's how much it's going to cost, those kind of things, that is kind of up in the air right now. So they roughly know where it's going to be. It's going to be somewhere the 2 blocks north of Scotia Place, but it'll take a little while to figure out. That's probably going to be the last station they do before they start transitioning into wherever the downtown looks like, whether it's in the air train, underground train, somewhere in the middle train, a train that sort of existentially exists in all of our hearts but doesn't actually exist in real life. Those kind of things. Yeah. It's a quantum train. It both exists and doesn't exist.
They can't have another at-grade intersection strip downtown. You'd think that wouldn't make any sense. It's really interesting stuff, though. I wonder how transfers between the lines will work. I mean, you have the red line that is somewhat nearby. I know in Toronto, they sometimes have underground pathways that you can walk between the 2 lines. That feels like it'd be reasonable with how,
They have those in Japan, too. They're awesome.
Yeah, like there'd be 3 or 4 blocks, something like that. You'd probably manage to make something like that work, especially with all the space on the Stampede grounds. So it is going to be a really interesting 5 years.
There's no space in the Stampede grounds. It's all spoken for.
Underneath.
There's all utilities.
Well,
in a floodplain. You're not going to. They're not going to do anything underground there.
It is a floodplain. That's yeah, duh. But yeah, I mean, maybe do another yellow bridge. I don't know. It's make it plus 15. Who's to say? It'll be fascinating to see how all that shapes out. Mr. Watson, another question. Moke Gould. It reminds me of the Nancy comic strip where the Sluggo says, they pay me in Wimes. Moke Gould, when you lived in Ottawa, did you ever see the Flames play there? I did. I saw the Flames play in Ottawa. I saw them play the Sens. I think I did. I think I went out.
You did not see the Sens play in Ottawa. You saw them play in Canada, which is not the same city.
Yeah. Actually, not a bad arena. It's not a bad arena. It's just in a horrible spot.
It's my least favorite arena in Canada.
Really?
It is not close.
It's not close?
It is. Yeah, it is my least favorite arena in Canada. Outside of the Saddledome, my favorite arena in Canada is Bell Centre.
Yeah. I mean, so it's fun. I've been to Vancouver and Toronto, and they feel like the same arena to me. Like their concourses are eerily similar.
Scotia Bank Arena, Toronto's it's a nicer concourse. I think they've updated it, I think, a bit rather than sort of just putting in new seats like Vancouver. So I think Toronto's arena is better than Vancouver's.
Vancouver's concourses are okay. Have you been to Winnipeg? Have you been to Canada Life? Yeah, I like it. I think it's super cool. I like how small it is. It's not even that small anymore. Arenas are getting smaller and smaller, and I think it's super cool. I watched the Flames play the Jets. I watched Danil Miramanov get deked out of his pants last year when the Flames played the Jets there. Have not been to a hockey game in Edmonton. I have not been to a Flames game in Edmonton. Can you believe that?
I can believe that.
Yeah,
I can believe that for sure. I've been to a lot of games in Edmonton.
Yeah, I've been to 1 billion games here, obviously. I've been to many amateur games in Edmonton. I've done play-by-play for amateur games in Edmonton and all around the province. but I have never been to anything. Not at Rogers Place, not at Commonwealth Stadium, not at Rexall, not at any of those places.
I never did a game at Rexall, but I did Commonwealth and I did many at Rogers Place. I like Rogers Place. I just think the press box is too far away from the ice. I think the bowl is too big, but I understand why they did it that way.
Yeah, I've been to many games at West Edmonton Mall. I have called games at the Brick Tournament at West Edmonton Mall. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, one day. God, the questions are just great. Mickey Moonrock, what's Piker's favorite weed dispensary? I think we're going to leave that one right there.
I don't think I have one. Like, hey, as an aside, the thing I don't understand. So, I mean, I know like Alberta regulates, liquor stores in a very specific way, but just we don't have 17 liquor stores in every block. Like,
I know.
It's like I kind of like how that if you want to buy wine or beer or something, you have to look not too hard, but it's not like you're going to accidentally stumble into one. Whereas it seems like I think they just license way too many dispensaries. And so like outside of the ones with funny names, so you drive by and go, that's funny. And then you don't think about them again. I just think we have too many. Like
I was walking around when I went to Toronto last month, I was walking around the path a lot, and there were LCBOs in the basement of every single big building down in Toronto. It's super weird. So I will say that I think the density plays a role in that. Here, yeah, you're right. We do another super chat, and this is from Sheldon Love again, who just makes a very salient point. Mullet Arena for the win. One of my favorite buildings, and honestly, a really good building for hockey. Not necessarily NHL hockey, but a great spot to watch a game. If Cullen Potter goes back to Arizona State for another year, I mean, there are things going on in the world right now, but I would love to go watch Cullen Potter there. But in any event, lots of arena discussion. I love arena discussion. And we all know, as Scotia Place nears, there will be lots and lots of time to discuss arenas. They all have their own.
No, this is the only time we're allowed to discuss arenas. I signed something.
And on March 9th, 2026. Yeah. After this,
18 months before the arena opens, we have to stop talking about it.
That's right. Yeah, I will have to go to Edmonton just to get a sense before.
I really like Commonwealth, like Northlands, like where the hell they called it, Rexall.
Rexall.
It was really efficiently designed. It's really, really compact, and like the worst thing about it is that you felt like it was a little bit too compact, like you were sort of in a sardine can.
Sure.
But like when the games were good, like I used to go up there for wrestling shows. Such a fun place with like a loud crowd. Like it basically traps noise. The corral was kind of like that too, where like, the corral, because of the low ceiling and the rafters and stuff, like you'd have pucks hit the rafters and the roof because they were so low, and like because the roof was so low, it trapped sound. So you felt like you were sort of in like, you felt like the rink was like maybe 5 minutes away from everyone in the stands jumping on the ice and fighting everybody. Like there's a reason why the Flames were so good in their first 3 years in Calgary, partially because the team was a wagon and an aspiring wagon that became one, but also because that arena with the high boards and the crowds right on top of you, and they're loud and they're rowdy.
Huge home ice advantage.
Yeah, it was a really fun atmosphere.
I will cap this arena discussion off with one of my favorite arenas that I've been to. Again, Ottawa, and it's still being used. I know there is discussion about maybe getting rid of it. I hope that never happens. Is the TD Place Arena, which is super fun. It's under one side of the bleachers at the Ottawa Red Black Stadium. It is where the 67s play.
That's by the Lansdowne, right?
Yeah, it's in Lansdowne. It's right underneath the stadium. So the roof of the arena slopes down like this. And so you've got a ton of seating on one side, barely any on the other side. The roof is super cool. And I really enjoyed it. It is a bit of a mess. I think everybody in Ottawa would say that. Like it's quite old. It has been there for quite a long time. But a super cool barn to watch a game. And I think the Senators play there.
I believe the Ottawa Charge, the PWHL, play there right now. And I think there's a minor local controversy because like they basically already capped out the building. And it's like, okay, if you want to keep growing women's sport in the nation's capital, you kind of need a little more capacity to grow into, and they don't have that. So their choice is going to Canada, I guess,
which you don't want.
Figuring out what they're going to do with the Senators when their arena happens in however many years. The commissioner told us that it's not close. Yeah, it ain't close. So it's going to be a while.
a super cool rink, like a total bucket list rink. It is the Tropicana Field of Canadian junior rinks. So a Tropicana Field, another venue that I really want to go to, but that's another discussion for the future once we get into baseball season. Pike, speaking of baseball season, are you excited that the Blue Jays are just around the corner here? Max Scherzer is back. They got that Japanese guy who looks like he's really good. They lost Bichette, but they still got Vlad on the big contract. It's basically a month away from opening day. I can't wait.
I like how they kept adding pitchers. They're like, you got Trey Savage. We got Scherzer. No, we need more center. We need more pitchers. It's like with centers. You just need to keep. You can use centers on the wing, but you can't teach wingers how to be good centers. So you're just going to keep signing starting pitchers, and then you can always use them to do something else. I like the approach.
Yeah, well, once the baseball season comes back, I mean, it's funny because it's going to be right around the start of the NHL playoffs, and I'm going to be watching every single Buffalo Sabres playoff game this spring. I am ride or die with my Thomas Vanek jersey. But in between all of that, I'm going to be spending a lot of April at the Unicorn. That is a promise. I will be sending photos in our Afterburner chat, which is a very exclusive chat. I mean, y'all in this chat, y'all wish. I mean, this is just ultra VIP content that Mike Gould is going to be sending to Ryan Pike on a daily basis of enjoying the Unicorn.
Don't make me block you.
It's going to be great. You gotta check it out. The great thing is, if for whatever reason those Sabres playoff games and the Blue Jays season tends to overlap, well, the Unicorn down on 223 8th Ave Southwest, it's got 3 floors. It's got 3 bars. It's one destination. They got the hockey on one floor. They got the baseball on the other floor. And on the other floor, they got Buck Hunter. So you got everything really in one spot. So head on down either to the 8th Ave location or onto 4th Street Southwest. There's some great stuff around both those locations. You can make a whole day out of it. It's a great spot. And enjoy at the Unicorn whenever you do go. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I hate rainouts, but I hope there's some double headers. And folks, if there's a double header, I recommend watch one Jays game on one floor of the Unicorn, and then to mix things up, go to a different floor to watch the second game. I think
all day long.
I think make sure you tip your servers when you switch floors though, because you want to be nice to them. And
it's like
also
a triple feature.
Buy some extra food.
I went to the Plaza Theater in Kensington once. Not a sponsor, but a little shameless plug. Support local arts. I went to the Plaza in Kensington once, and I saw 3 movies in one day. And it wasn't even by design. They didn't advertise it as a triple feature. They just had 3 movies playing back to back that I all wanted to go see. And it's like the same. Like imagine if there is a force of nature that conspires to give us 2 Blue Jays games back to back, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and then the Sabres play a playoff game that evening.
I wouldn't say the Expos.
Okay, well, that's another thing entirely. But maybe one day, maybe if the Tropicana Field ever falls apart, we'll see. It almost did, but it's back now with a brand new roof. So there we go. Head on over to the Unicorn. It's a good spot. Pike, we got a game tomorrow. Flames play tomorrow. They're taking on the New York Rangers tomorrow. And before we get to that, there are some people in the chat clamoring for the return of the back burner. Wow. Remember the back burner, Pike? We got to bring it back. There's going to be a lot of opportunity.
There's a draft lottery coming up in May. We're gonna have time to do it.
Yes.
We have games to deal with right now.
Lots going on.
A lot of games, but once these games start, filtering out, we'll do it.
We'll get there. We will get to the back burner. There will be a lot of time for Jonathan Castagna discussion all summer long. But before we get there, the Flames take on the New York Rangers tomorrow, and we do have the betting lines brought to you by Bet365. Let's have a look at them now from Yasmin here. And the Flames and Rangers, it's actually kind of even money. We've got Canadian decimal odds, but this is just about like saying that the the Flames are plus 105 and the Rangers are minus 120, I think. It's pretty even money on both these. The over-under set at 5.5, as you might expect. It's going to be a close one, I would think, between these two teams. Although Flames coming off a lopsided loss and the Rangers coming off a bit of a lopsided win, and they're both playing the second half of back-to-back. That doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, so the scheduled win is basically negated, and now it's just basically a fairly even match. And that feels like a coin toss to me. Both both teams have their flaws, and both teams are sort of playing for next year. Brendan Othman is currently with the American League Club, so there's no Brendan Othman revenge game. So I don't know. I think this should be this will be 3 periods of National Hockey League action, and we'll see what happens. The problem is Zone has to win this game, and I'm pretty sure both teams, if you put Truth Serum into management on both teams, they would go, "Oh God, this is an important 0-point game for us." And players aren't wired like that. Both teams be playing hard, and when you don't play hard, that's when bad stuff happens, like fluke injuries or whatever. Like the preseason might be like the absolute worst thing in the world just for fluke injuries, as the Flames saw in 2 of their preseason games. 2 of the last 3 preseason games, they lost regular players to injury. So the garbage time games can arguably be the most dangerous, and so we will see. But yeah, I'm curious to see what both these groups look like, especially given their respective situations.
We shall see indeed. I do think it'll be a low-scoring game, especially with these 2 teams both coming off of high-scoring games.
Who started for the Rangers today?
I don't know, actually. Let me go check. I think it was probably Shesterkin.
Yeah, so it's going to be Wolf versus...
probably Jonathan Quick, I would think.
That's kind of fun, because Justin Wolf was a Jonathan Quick stan when he was a young lad. That's why he was 32. So if Justin Wolf gets to play a game head-to-head against his favorite goalie growing up, that's very fun, and that might be the Strome versus Strome of tomorrow night's game.
There we go. Pair of 32s. We expect to be between the pipes tomorrow. And if you want to go check on that one a little bit further, you can head over to Bet365. Whatever your bet, it is never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get it on the game. Just use the code NATION. That is spelled NATION if you don't know how to spell nation. Pike, I think our buddy Yasmin did scrounge up a look at the upcoming schedule, and we'll get to that as a presentation of GMC, where it is truck month. Right now at GMC, the 2026 Sierra 1500 Pro Graphite Crew Cab is available at 0% financing for 72 months. It's got a 2-inch factory lift with off-road suspension and a 5.3-liter V8 engine that delivers the kind of power you actually feel when you hit the gas. Not too much out there as far as a V8 anymore. So, yeah, go check it out. See the Sierra 1500 Pro Graphite Crew Cab and figure out what it can really do. And Yasmin, I think we do have this look at the next few games. So here's a look at the month of March for the Calgary Flames. So
a lot of road games.
A lot of road games. They lose to the Capitals today. 4 more road games out east: Rangers, Devils, Islanders, Red Wings. As it currently stands, 2 of those teams are in the playoffs right now: the Islanders and the Red Wings. Devils, Rangers, but it's hard to say exactly how the Flames will play against these teams. And then they come back home for a 6-game homestand, which maybe isn't going to be as difficult as we might have thought, with Florida being way out of the playoff race, the LA Kings sort of being on the cusp, St. Louis being pretty bad. But it's still not going to be a cakewalk. The Ducks are better than everybody expected. The Lightning are still very, very good. And then, of course, the first of 3 games against Colorado this year to finish the month. It is not going to be the easiest finish to the month of March, Pike.
So they have starting. It started today with Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. Starting on Tuesday in New York, they play every second day from now until March 30th. Then they have the 31st and the 1st off, both on the road. Then they play every other day again for another few days. Then they have 2 days off. Then it's a back-to-back in, I believe, Seattle, and then Colorado or Utah the next day. Then a day off. Then Colorado. Then they close out the season at home against LA. So their schedule, we're gonna get through this thing pretty quick, but it's gonna be kind of a grind, because it's sort of, okay, 7-3 loss, park it, because you gotta hop on a train or a plane or something, go to MSG, see what you can do there. Then you go to the Swamp. Then you go to Long Island. Then you go to Jersey or to Detroit, which I don't know where I think probably the place you most want to be is Long Island. I mean, the worst thing you have to deal with out there is the Long Island Railroad.
I mean, I love New York City.
I like the railroad.
I like New York City, but the thing that's going to be interesting for them to navigate is fitting everybody into their lineup. We saw Victor Olofsson tonight. I don't think he really made a huge impression in his Flames debut. Obviously, they have Strome, who they just got. They have Pospisil, who came out of the lineup today. There's been a bit of a rotation, and we shall see exactly how it shakes out. There are people in the question or in the comments right now talking
worse.
about, well, yeah, but will we see more young players be recalled? And my initial response is no, because I think all of the ones who you would really want to see are already up. Brustevich will probably get back in tomorrow, is my guess.
Rory Cairns is injured.
Cairns is hurt. And at a certain point here with William Stromgren and with Sam Morton and with, trying to think of anybody else really. I mean, with Cairns, these aren't that young guys anymore. These are guys who are 24.
And you kind of have to leave somebody with the Wranglers to play. Like the Wranglers are unfortunately below the playoff cut line. It would take a Herculean effort for them to make it. They're not mathematically out, but it's an uphill battle for sure. But you don't want to completely gut that team. You want them, like, these are useful developmental reps for those guys too, and you don't want to have them on their own death march down the stretch. So, Mike, I would say probably the more likely thing to happen is we're going to start seeing signings in the reasonably near future, probably closer. What month is this? As we get more into April, I think the likelihood of seeing some signings from within the Flame system is more and more likely. So, yeah, I don't know, but I think if you're the Flames, they have 24 healthy bodies right now, including Zach Whitecloud, who's day to day. 3 guys in IR aren't coming back. You probably don't want to have more than they had 4 extra guys today not play, and so do you want to have a lot of guys spectators? Like the nice thing is they do have the every other game situation, every other day games, so you can justify cycling a guy out for a game here and there, but you don't want guys sitting for too long. You don't want too many guys sitting.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if you were going to bring anybody up from the AHL, it's probably Brendan Othman at a certain point. You want to see what he is. But yeah, I think to your point, it's probably more likely we see guys who get signed and come straight into the lineup. Obviously, the name that we heard during the broadcast tonight, the name that you were pumping up a couple of days ago from St. Cloud State was Tyson Gross.
Calgary kid, 6'3", right shot center, 60% on faceoffs. I think 15th in the NCAA in points. 23, big center, Calgary kid. He might, he feels very Tyson Kingy, except potentially with a little bit more offensive upside, maybe a little bit bigger. Carter, yeah, I'm combining players. Sam King, Carter Morton, they've had a pretty good success bringing guys in from the NCAA of sort of this kind of trying to think character, this kind of a template,
this archetype.
Yeah, this archetype. Thank you, sir. But like sort of the toolsy, two-way guys with some offensive upside. Carter King is very quietly having a pretty effective season as a rookie in the AHL. He's sort of been down the rotation and sort of being a utility guy, but he's provided them with some really nice value, especially on special teams. Morton has quietly been arguably the Wranglers' best center, and he got 2 very good games one very good game in the NHL and one pretty good game in the NHL, and then he got squeezed out by the numbers game. So I think if you're looking at sort of what they would be hoping for from a Tyson Gross, I think you sort of look at how Morton has been, how Carter King has been, and go, okay, can you get a little bit more out of that guy? And the nice thing is, a little bit more offensive pop, at least at the NCAA level, than the other 2 guys, and big. And big is good.
Well, yeah,
and local. He's big and local. It's perfect.
Big and local. Blows your mind. And the other thing is that the Flames do have a couple NCAA guys who we could see signed here in Abram Weeb and in Jonathan Castagna and even in Trevor Hoskin, who could get signed to entry-level deals here. Most likely those guys will get signed to amateur tryout deals and then have their entry-level deals start next year. But entirely possible that we see one of them maybe go straight to the NHL and get a couple of games.
I'm going to throw it a guess too. I'd be very curious if the Flames make a run at Cole Rezhny.
Hello.
He is a NCHC all rookie team member. He got as many first place votes as Keaton Verhoff did. So both of them are just shy of unanimous all rookie team members. He's going to be probably on one of the all-star teams in the conference. He's been a very good two-way center. He's physically fairly well developed, and the AHL. The scuttlebutt is next year that they will change the AHL rules so you can have a 19-year-old drafted in the CHL, one per organization. And the Flames don't have anyone else that fits that mode. There's no other '07 birthdays who are from the CHL who could play. And so we don't know. Like, I would think they're probably, once North Dakota winds things up, maybe have a conversation with both him and his representation and go, how do you, do you want to come back and be a dominant NCAA player next year on what's going to be a pretty good to very good program again? Or do you want to maybe come and try a different challenge? Like, I don't think there's a bad answer here, but if he signs, I suspect we'd probably see him before the end of this year, because you probably want to. He's your first round pick. You burn the first year and get him some games in, right? So
absolutely,
I think that's something that they would probably look at, or I think it's a slide. I forget the technicalities of it are sort of moved, but yeah, you'd want to avail yourself of these kind of options. And let's be blunt here. If you're going to tell Martin Pospisil he's sitting for game 81, 82, whatever, you probably kind of feel okay doing it when it's the first round pick. That you're like, hey, Rejni's going to play center on line 3 instead of you. Sorry, buddy. He'll go, he's a first round pick. I get it. But Pospisil, he's an Olympian. But I don't know. What's that? We set a non-Olympian. Keep the Olympians in the lineup.
Yeah, take Lomberg out or something. Yeah. There's lots of ways they can broach it. We'll see if they do. We do have one more super chat to get to. It's from a Real Rampant Lion. If you do want to get your questions on the show, you can submit more super chats. We'll go until we exhaust them. This one is for $6.99. Pike, read Happy City. I looked it up. It's a book about urban planning. You'd probably enjoy it. Any update on the Muse or Potter injuries? When a player's still in college, is the pro team running the injury management? This is an interesting question, Pike.
Yes. No updates. Muse had his surgery. Potter had his surgery. They're recovering. It's one of those things where it's sort of, I think it's similar to how they run player development, where, Ray Edwards and other members of the Flames development staff are in regular contact with them, talking to the coaches, talking to the trainer, basically talking to everyone in the organization. So it's basically, so Ray pops in or someone pops in on a trip, has a chat with everyone, sees how everyone's doing, any concerns, anything we need to worry about, anything we can help with, those kind of things. So it's essentially, when you have an NHL drafted player on a college team, you kind of unofficially get access to some resources. I think that's the nice thing. And it's also, if you want to pump up your program, statistically speaking, the chances of getting your players signed as free agents is usually better when you're playing on a team that has some NHL drafted players. But in those kind of things, you would have the Flames sort of being, if not directly involved, sort of, part of the conversation for, how is he doing? How is player X doing? Let's say Muse. The Flames are pretty well abreast of that situation very quickly, and we're in regular conversation with Michigan and Muse's representation on how's he doing, what's the plan, what do you want to do, how can we help, those kind of things. So, it's not like these kids, once they get drafted, they're like, all right, you're in Michigan. See you later. We'll see you in dev camp. They're when things are good, bad, or in this case, injury related, they're pretty well in communication with them at all time. So
very, very trenchant insight, Mr. Pike. Very well done. Appreciate it. Hey, we appreciate everybody's chats. We appreciate everybody's comments. There's a bunch of questions, bunch of comments. I'll just do some rapid fire. Will Zane be with the Wranglers next year? Probably not.
Briefly, if at all.
What's the most important part of a rebiggle that no one talks about? Probably trying to figure out how to sell jerseys at the team store. Tough market when all the guys get traded every year.
Yeah, because the stars are the ones that sell merch, and so if you don't have a lot of stars yet, you don't have a lot of merch. I think we're going to see a lot more Wolf jerseys the next couple of years.
I heard a rumor that they might start selling Conroy jerseys, which I think would be a cool idea. Pike or Mike, why has Don Maloney not said a peep to the media recently after the rebiggle incident and the Eric Francis article Double Down? Why would he? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Let's see. Does Pike run all of this? Not really, but he runs the website. He runs a part of this. He's a good guy.
I show up and try not to get yelled at by security. That's really all I can do.
Exactly. And I think that's just about it. You're welcome. I gave you some free questions. Take it to the bank. It's a Monday night.
Yeah,
Feeling
and
good.
you know what? Those people who asked questions that were free, you're taking money away from the children who need help to
It's
deal with
ridiculous.
the challenges of their lives.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I hope everyone who got a free question feel a little bit disappointed in yourself.
Well,
and for those of you who donated money to East End of Calgary, you guys are good people, and we're going to ask your questions with more enthusiasm than we ask the freeloader questions.
I had to put in the corresponding level of effort. I kind of, half-heartedly responded, but I wanted to. They
were
be kind.
Good questions, but they did not benefit the children, so they get lesser answers.
Fine questions, but we appreciate everybody who watches this. It's very kind of you for spending 75 minutes of your Monday with us. Well, I think that's just about it for us. I will not be back tomorrow evening. I will be on the Warmies because that's my show, but I will not be on the Afterburner show because Lord knows you've seen enough of me lately. So it will be Pike and Robert on tomorrow's show. Looking forward.
I think I'm on like 4 of the 5 games in this road trip.
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
So you're gonna get to see me look gradually worse and worse.
Yeah.
Perfect. Not because of the Flames, just because that's how I'm aging.
Hey, you got a Cammy Pike game coming up. There's a me and Robert game coming up. There is an In the Dome game coming up. That'll be on March 20th and 28th. Maybe there will be more. I don't know. But in any event.
Before we go, we should probably warn you. So anyone who doesn't already subscribe, there are 2 Amazon games closer to the end of the month. I believe the Detroit game on March 16th is an Amazon game, and I think the one on the 30th, I forget what the hell it is. Utah, Seattle, whatever the one it is in the end of the month. That is also an Amazon game. So if you're already a Prime subscriber, you're good to go. If you're someone who's like, I was gonna wait till the Flames games, and thankfully they're all in the same month, you've been warned. If you need to subscribe, we're warning you a week in advance that next Monday is an Amazon game. So you will get to see slightly different camera angles and different people talking about the Flames as they play Detroit. So you've all been warned, and I hope you enjoy the Amazon. I like the Amazon broadcasts; they're fun.
They're great.
Yeah, it's stuff done by people who are doing it for the first time and sort of are just bringing a different perspective to it. And I also really love the fact that they televise warm-ups.
Yeah, you got to tell it. They have a pregame show.
They have a pregame show. So for next Monday, folks, make sure you have 2 screens so you can watch on your Amazon device the warm-up, which won't have any interesting audio outside of ambient in-arena sound. And then on whatever other screen you have, watch Warmies with Mike.
They got Adnan Virk. I mean, it's just great.
He's such a nice guy, too. Good.
Great. It's fantastic.
Unlike Mike, who's he's fine.
Wow.
You know Adnan Virk, though.
Thank you.
Adnan Virk.
It's tough to be Adnan Virk. We'll call it there. Hour 18. Flames lose to the Washington Capitals 7-3, but get goals from Gridin, Coleman, and Igor Sharangovich. They fall to 30th in the NHL, maybe 31st if Chicago is able to pull a point or 2 out of Utah this evening. Pike and Robert will be back on the Afterburner tomorrow after the Flames take on the New York Rangers. I will see you on the Warmies tomorrow. Until then, thank you to all of our sponsors, to everybody in the chat, to my buddy Pike, to my right, and to Yasmin, the producer. My name is Mike Gould, and this has been another edition of the Afterburner.